Hang on, I've got to control this cat. Hey y'all, and welcome back to Wheel of Time Wednesdays. This time we're doing chapters 23 through 26 of The Great Hunt, which is the second book in Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. So here we go. Chapter 23 is the testing, and we learn what the Aes Sedai vows are, so I'm going to read off the three of them. So it's to speak no word that is not true, which I find extremely interesting, but when I think about it, I feel like Moiraine and the other Aes Sedai probably just withhold information rather than outright lying about it. The second is to make no man, the second one is to make no weapon for one man to kill another. Okay. And the third is never to use the one power as a weapon except against Dark Fringe, Shadow Spawn, or defending yourself, your warder, or another sister. So pretty standard vows, nothing unexpected. The speak only truth I find really strange given how the Aes Sedai have tended to come across so far. They're very shady, they don't like to share things. I don't know if any of them are outright lying, but it's interesting. So we learn a little bit more about some magic, but I say learn in a really light way. I feel like the breaking of the world really just destroyed so much knowledge that the Aes Sedai had. I feel like a lot of this magic that we're learning about, like the archways into the ways, these stones where Rand disappeared through with Hurin and Loial, even these archways that Nynaeve is about to go through for her testing, they always talk about how they don't really know how they work. They just know what they do, but they don't know how or why they work or things like that. And it just, I don't know, it seems like the Aes Sedai come across and try to put forth that they know all these things, but then when we learn about things with the Aes Sedai, we learn they don't know much. I don't know, I'm kind of getting disenchanted with the Aes Sedai. I'm getting disenchanted in the way that I don't feel like they're all knowing, but I still know that they are very powerful and they do have a lot of knowledge, more than what the wider world would. It's just the prestige is not quite so lofty that I was kind of believing it was in the first and early part of this book. So Nynaeve is about to go for her testing. So she's above novice and she has to go through this test where she passes through these three arches. She still talks about how she has to make Moiraine pay for what Moiraine did to them. And once again, I love Nynaeve. I love her character. I think she's very strong even if she doesn't know when to hush her mouth. And I love her for it. But sometimes this weird, petty, vindictive streak that she constantly talks about making Moiraine pay just doesn't make sense. Like, there is a lot more than Moiraine going on. There's a bigger picture than what Nynaeve is wanting to look at, and I feel like if Moiraine hadn't been there, all these other things would have still happened. They'd still be going on. I don't know why Nynaeve is not really seeing that. So I'm really confused as to why she has this vendetta on making Moiraine pay for something that Moiraine didn't really have any control over. And I kind of wonder if it's just something that is keeping her going, something to keep her mind on, to keep her from unraveling. I don't really know. It's an interesting thing that she's fixated on. We'll see how it goes. So in Nynaeve's first arch, she is naked. She doesn't have anything like on her, and she's in this maze and she fights Aginor. She at first was running from him, then she turns and fights. She actually channels in the first arch and she comes back through. They tell her, you know, the arch comes, or the exit comes but once, be steadfast. So as soon as the other arch arrives, she actually contemplates walking away from the arch to go find Aginor, make him pay, kill him. But she reminds herself it only comes but once, and so she leaves the archway. So that was good. And then she's cleansed of sin and now she's pure of heart, which reminds me of baptism, like they pour water over her. So it kind of reminds me of the baptism, but that was her first test that she passed. So now she has to go through the other two where she fails. We also learned that she wasn't supposed to be able to channel in the first arch, or in any of these really. She's not supposed to channel, so we learned that it's pretty dangerous, and The others are pretty surprised that she was able to channel at all anyway, let alone not be stripped of her power like a previous Aes Sedai was years back when they were testing these. So it's pretty cool. I'm kind of interested to see why she would be special in that way. So in the second arch, she goes through and she is back in the Two Rivers, and there is a new wisdom there that has taken her place, and surprisingly, grumpy old Sin Bui is the new mayor. But she learns that this new wisdom is using her power and her magic to... It basically reminds me of an abusive relationship. So that wisdom is there. She's using her power to manipulate these people into fearing that they need her, and she's controlling them with that fear. So I think it's implied that she is making these children sick and then saving them. So she's creating a need that these townsfolk feel like they need her because she's saving these children, but they're also not realizing that she's probably the one making them sick in the first place. So she's using that power to basically abuse this town into keeping her, and they're too afraid to get rid of her, escape her, basically. So Nynaeve is going to basically kick out this wisdom and help her old town of the Two Rivers, and then the Archway shows up. And she's once again tempted to stay and help her people. She has a lot of guilt. She feels terrible leaving them behind, and she's wanting to set it right. So, but she remembers the way comes but once, be steadfast, so she leaves. And she's obviously extremely upset. She wants to know if it's real, and they tell her they don't know if it's real or not. So she's distraught, she's very upset. We don't know if that's what's happened to the real Two Rivers or if that was just part of her test. So now she's cleansed of false pride, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I find it interesting because I don't really feel like Nynaeve is full of false pride. She is very, she was very good at being a wisdom, and she has these abilities. She's just not as trained as other Aes Sedai. So I don't really know if that would be considered false pride. I figure it's just actual legitimate pride. Like, she is capable. She's just not as trained as some of these others. So I don't know, I kind of didn't like the wording on that, but I like the idea. So Nynaeve's third test, her third arch, she ends up in a meadow in the Seven Towers, the Kingdom of the Seven Towers, and she's married to Lan. They have children, and I am just brokenhearted for her. It's obviously something that she really wants. She doesn't want to leave, even if she knows this is obviously not real. She doesn't want to necessarily leave it behind. It's something that she really wants, and that's something that she's dreaming of at this point in her life. So it just breaks my heart, and when that archway disappeared, I panicked because it only comes but once, and I don't know. Hello. So Jinx is going to join me for a little while. We'll see how long he stays, but I really did panic because they said that it only comes but once, and they say the arch only comes but once and it disappears, but she somehow is able to create her own archway back. Hang on, I've got to control this cat. So we'll try to continue a little bit, I'm sorry. So we know that the archway disappears, and I panic because she can't get back. That's her way back. Well, she resolves herself. She knows that this is what she wants. She has to make Moiraine pay. She knows this isn't real, and she somehow creates her own archway back. I don't know how she did it. I don't even think Nynaeve really knows how she did it. But she makes her way back, and she is cleansed of her bonds, which is pretty cool. Chapter 24 is New Friends and Old Enemies, and in this one we are following Egwene pretty much, and she meets Elaine, who was the girl, she's the princess from back in the first book when Rand falls over that wall into the courtyard when he is trying to watch Logain through the city. And I've been waiting for this meeting because I feel like Elaine was kind of interested in Rand, and obviously Egwene has a stake, she has a claim on Rand, and she was a little jealous back in book 1 when Rand mentions her, and obviously her jealousy kind of comes out here as well. And Elain mentions that the Aes Sedai that was with her mother, Elaida, I believe her name was, Elaida is a red Ajah, and Elain tells Egwene that she was looking for Rand, so that obviously worries Egwene, especially since she's been having these dreams about Rand being in danger. Okay, Jinx has decided to leave, so maybe we can get this back under control. Back to chapter 24. The girls, they see Logain, so he's there at the White Tower, and I don't know, he's been gentled, but I don't know if he's like a ward, if he's a prisoner, if he's basically in, like, if he's like an asylum patient. I don't really know, but another Aes Sedai kind of leads him off. He's very weird, you know, he makes very suicidal comments, or basically alluding to the fact that the Aes Sedai are worried that he's going to commit suicide, but he makes it seem like that's not something he's thinking about. So Min is there, which was pretty cool. So Egwene meets Min, and Min says that she sees a white flame around Egwene, so I'm not sure what that means, but she wouldn't tell anything else, but they seem to get along really well. So Galad approaches at this point. Remember, he is Elain's half-brother, and Egwene is just immediately smitten with him. It's actually kind of cute. She's pretty smitten, and Min makes a comment once Galad leaves that he would do the right thing no matter who it hurt. So that reminds me of like a lawful good type character if you want to go into D&D roles. That way, that's what that reminds me of, like a paladin. And I know at first I didn't like Galad in the first book when we first met him, but he could kind of grow on me. I don't know, it's interesting to see him back as a character here in the second book, and especially with Egwene kind of latching onto him so immediately. I'm very curious to see how much more of Galad we're going to see, and if I'm going to end up liking him, because I'm really attached to Egwene, and she's just sweet, and I kind of want her to find someone other than Rand, just because I know what Min has said about her and Rand not ending up together. So I think it would be nice and good for her to maybe like someone else like Galad. So we'll talk a little bit about something that is awkward, at least for me, when Elain and Min and Egwene all kind of have these weird vocal, out loud declarations of liking each other and wanting to be friends. I felt like it was really awkward. I don't know why they are suddenly making weird declarations to each other. Even if that's how you feel, like, it's just not, I don't know, do people really talk like that to each other? Like with my best friend, I never came out and been like, I like you, let's be close friends. You know, we just were. I don't know, I just found it really awkward. Maybe it's just kind of the thing of being in a new place with learning these new powers and all this other stuff. Maybe that's where it's coming from. I just felt like it was a really awkward conversation, and I don't know if that's meant to be awkward for the characters, like they are a little bit awkward, or if that's the author being awkward and choosing weird dialogue. I hadn't really come across anything like that he's wrote before, so I don't know. It was a weird moment. I didn't like it. So a little bit later, Elaida, the red Ajah that was searching for Rand that Elain was saying, Elaida finds Min and starts questioning Min about Rand, and Min makes this comment to herself after Elaida leaves about she doesn't want to fall in love with a farm boy. How'd she put it? She said doesn't want to fall in love with someone she's only met once, and a farm boy at that. So I don't know. I guess that means she knows she's going to fall in love with Rand, which is interesting. So I don't know where. I can tell like all these little romances are kind of budding, and I don't know if that's probably not a big focus of the books, but I do want to mention it because that's what's being written. I don't want to leave it out, but I don't want you all to think that I'm obsessed with the romances and that that's all I care about in the book, but that's just what we're getting right now. I feel like we're building up a lot of things in these early books, building up a lot of relationships, and this is still technically the first half of the book, so hopefully we'll get into more plot-driven stuff here soon. Chapter 25 is Karheen, and it is a very short chapter. Not a whole lot happens. We hear more about the great game, and Rand is determined not to play it. He doesn't like it, and I agree with him. I don't want him to start playing these games, and I really, in real life, political games get on my nerves. I can't stand it, especially in offices where I've worked. I just hate it. I don't want anything to do with it. I just want to sit at my desk and I want to do my job and I want to go home. So I understand Rand's frustration. But the best part of this chapter is Thom Merrilin is alive, and I knew it. I knew it. I was so excited. I was hoping that he wouldn't be dead, and he's not. He's with this other girl named Dina, I think. Dana? Something like that. And he's training her. There's a lot of entertainment in this city. Basically the entire town, there's just one entertainment after another. There's minstrels and jugglers and singers and harpists and all kinds of things. Is a singer and a minstrel the same thing? Anyway, there's all kinds of entertainment going on. And so Thom is making his living here, and I'm just so glad that they finally met up and that he's alive. I was so excited. Chapter 26 is Discord, and we are still talking with Thom, and Rand he's gonna go meet Thom at the Bunch of Grapes Inn, and he wants Loial to come meet Thom, but Loial is pretty nervous. He doesn't want to go because he's afraid of seeing other Ogier there in the city, and he obviously didn't leave his steading in a good way. I want to learn more about Loial. He spends so much time talking about other people's pasts and other magic. I want to learn more about Loial. We know that he did leave when he shouldn't have, and he says that he probably left in a bad way and that they're not supposed to really go out adventuring, but I do want to learn more about him. But Rand does convince him to go and meet Thom. Thom has been making his living here in the city, or making his way here at least. He's been living here, and after Rand and Mat escape, pretty much he says that they didn't really care about him. Like, once they realized Mat and Rand were gone, they just left him, so they didn't even bother killing him. So he got really lucky. So Rand tells Thom about the horn. He shows him the horn. He tells Thom, come with us, be a part of this hunt, be a part of the great hunt, something that you've been singing about and telling these stories about. And Thom is he's tempted, he really is, but he has Dana, and he just, I don't know, he refuses. He comes out, says he doesn't want to, which was surprising. I don't feel like that's going to be his answer forever. I feel like he's eventually going to give in, but we'll see. And we also know that once Thom learns that Moiraine basically let Rand go, Rand isn't telling him everything between him and Moiraine, but Thom himself believes that because Moiraine has let him go, that Rand is not the one that can channel. So he feels like Rand is pretty much safe and isn't going to be going mad using saidin, and he's refusing to follow them with the horn right now. I think eventually Thom will join them, but that's all I've read so far, so we'll see. Next week, of course, we'll be continuing Wheel of Time. As always, I absolutely love all the comments. Thank you so much. You all mean so much to me, and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Y'all are as good as gold, and I'll see y'all next week. Y'all take care. Bye.